just slight 20% at 145.
What you, 145, okay, trustees?
It was 105 in 2018, went to 128 in 2019, and now it's 137.
The contract we signed didn't have any increase this year, though.
Well, we signed, in the last 2 years, we signed 2 contracts. So I don't know, yeah, you're right. We
It's
just signed it.
1 year contract.
Right.
Well, your contract, yeah, but
We just signed one,
I
right?
remember this contract did not go up this year.
Right.
So we just, what you said.
Well, we definitely under budgeted, you know, at 130, and it turned out to be 137. So anything north of 137, you should be all right.
Well, this is still money in, money out.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we got 145 coming out of the general.
Well, if you don't budget it, and then you under budget, then you gotta take from the other accounts,
Yes,
so that's the
right,
hard
right.
part.
But I mean,
Well,
correct,
this
we're
is-
not taking 145 out of the general.
Right, you're just appropriating it.
Yes.
So I put, so I can change the special assessment line a little bit too on the revenue fund, where I have put 230. And that includes, on the special assessment line, includes trash and weeds.
Is there a way to separate those two as sub-agents to assessments? One that says trash and one says nuisance?
I can separate the funds, can I? I'm just trying to think if we get a bill that separates them out. Yeah, we get a bill that separates those two out. It's just a little bit more work, but yeah, we get a bill that separates those two.
Well, earlier, Mike or one of the other guys said they didn't know, that didn't describe enough of what that special assessment is. I would ask you if you could put
We put the,
one that says trash and one that says nuisance.
so the last 4 numbers is what's called a cost center. And then I will create the cost center, you can say whatever you want. And what you said, you want to say one say trash and one say nuisance?
Yes.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
So I have to create a cost center for that.
Because we did all that work to assess some of these properties and we don't get paid a lot. We'd like to see what that revenue is every year.
Yes.
Separated.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, Tracy, you solved that issue. I saw that big number there that you typed in, and I go, we're in trouble.
I was going through and doing this fast, and I looked at the revenue, and I put it in there, and that shouldn't have been that.
That's all right. Number 0106, water and sewer. We don't have a charge in the parks today unless you decide to rebuild the bathrooms. Then the next one is utilities Calumet. All right, this is the one where you pay your rent to Calumet. And so you have an increasing amount. This first year, you're not at 2,000, but you should plan it for 2,000 a month. So 24,000 would be the total rent bill, minus, a couple thousand, but still, let's say it's 24. Well, you split it half road, half fire, or I'm sorry, half road, half general. So I had in my fire, or in my general, or my road budget, I had 12,000 in there.
So can I ask you a question?
Yep.
If the auditors come in and ask us how do we justify half road and half fire? Half road, you got me saying, half road and half general.
The building is housing the road department office, manager's office, as well as the general offices.
Yeah, but you're only one person in that whole office. The
Well,
road
we
has
use the conference room for meetings. We have.
You have, but you already have 2 buildings. You're paying the road garage and Kimmel Line.
Right.
I mean.
Right, and Adrian does the payroll for the road department. Every one of those offices has something to do with the road department. Tony is doing code enforcement and road work out of his office in terms of nuisances. So that justifies the zoning. I do what I do. Adrian, they use the conference room. We use the conference room for our employee meetings. That is my justification.
Okay, I mean, I just be prepared to answer.
Right.
I will be telling them, I don't know how I justify, so I'll be sending them to you to say, to get the justification.
Oh, Tracy said you got it.
Well, at least you're not blindsided. You know now it's coming. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, in those small, over there, here, Mike, we knew. They come right out of my office, the young man did, and come to you, or she, and I go, here he comes. Because I know what they just asked for, because we heard it. So I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll write up the justification and let you have that in the file now. And then if that's not right, you can throw that on me. All right, so anyways, on next one, I didn't change contracted services, IT support. You know, again, you know, you're not buying anything this year. You're not moving anything. You're not rebuilding tunnels to the Station 59 because they weren't hooked up before. You now have all that set up.
You said IT support, is this Buckeye?
Buckeye.
Okay.
And if you do an RFP, that number might change. You might not have as much service fee, or you may stay with Buckeye and beat them down. But I don't, you know, you won't have the expenses in terms of, we hope not, services that where you call them for coming in to fix something. But I wanted to keep that same amount as Tracy had suggested.
So can I say something here?
You can always
This is
say
where-
anything.
This is where I spoke up yesterday, or wherever it was, about, maybe it was Mr. Mann I was talking, we need to have a meeting because we need to talk with Buckeye, if that's who you want to keep, and see if they can provide us some contract so we can base a budget around. It's fine if you want to keep Buckeye, I'm not arguing if you want to keep Buckeye. What I'm arguing is we should get somebody, Buckeye, whoever, that says, we can give you this package for this amount of money so we can budget. This is what I'm looking, how I'm looking at it. And then if we have stuff overwards, then they charge us those charges. But every time they come in, if they do something, it's $125 for their services, partial hours, 15 minutes is, a percentage or whatever. And each time they come in and do a service, and then plus any equipment they give us, they charge us. There should be some kind of set fee, they could do a contract. If not, they know, they've been with us for a lot of years, fire department longer than
How many
the whole
years, when did
department.
you start that?
2003.
So
So
they
when you
should
built
know,
this building or one,
almost, yeah.
Well, a couple of years after, yeah.
So they should know what we do by now. They should be able to build us a package for us, and that we can do a budget on, because it's hard for, we split it 3 ways, but, okay, for instance, right now, the fire has already done their budget. They don't know what to put in their budget for that.
We also
They
need to
don't
look
know.
at it, what can we do ourselves? Nobody's trying to do more things themselves. You see the road department doing more stuff in-house. What can we do ourselves that they do?
or get somebody trained to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Wasn't
that's
That's a
not-
good idea too.
wasn't Adrian removing the hard drives and that kind of stuff? Yeah, well, they're charging us for that now, and, different things that they're doing that we could do ourselves. We need to look at that.
So, if you want to set up a meeting, just tell me what you want. So, but I want to make sure that that money, stayed there until you made changes to it.
No, I would just, since you brought it up, I thought I'd bring that up, that we could look at something like that, but it's hard to do. I'm just looking at that, it's hard to do a budget. I'm not arguing who you get, I'm just wanting, it's hard to do a budget if you don't have a set.
Right.
number.
So
Well, we
you and
didn't-
I are getting those bills all the time, and we have to recode it everywhere we.
But
sorry.
with with the 20 grand we got here, we still have none.
Yeah,
Well, that's because you had enough, but you split the bills, and like he gets the bills. If they don't say on their general road, or fire, then he gets the one for everybody, and then he splits it, but fire doesn't know what percentage that's gonna come. They didn't budget that in their budget. And eventually
that's why
that
we have
gets
to
more
look
and
at
more.
that final budget for fire to make sure their IT is, at least up, where it should be.
But you had reconfiguration of offices, you had all the installation at Calumet, you had the added security at Calumet, they had to pull cable.
We had to
That
vote on-
number should drop because of all the added
Those
expense.
should, but like a server fee, the server fee,
Yeah,
the
we have
thing you talk
we have
about
a server
changing
fee
those.
annually, we have a,
Camera, I don't know if we doing some of those camera pulling and stuff from the camera, that gets split among all the departments. We need to have a set fee when they come in to do something like that, so you can put it in the budget, because I know for a fact the fire ran out of money, they were scraping somewhere to get the money. They only put in so much because they didn't know how much to put in, so then they had to find that money for that, because they had all the other earmarks. So that,
Okay.
that's the only reason I'm saying, you know, that's all I want is a budget, you know, baseline. I mean, if we go over, we go over, but at least we have a starting baseline, $50,000, then we could budget 50,000. And those little incidents, we'll just have to find the money, or we budget 20% more or whatever.
Okay, moving on to website. You know, I think, Mr. McGuire, you said you wanted to have a meeting with Oasis because you thought that maybe they were charging a little excessive on some things. One of the things I looked at today was I didn't realize that they are typing in or scanning in the entire Toledo news, or what do you call it? What I just said a little while ago.
Court order?
Daily
Court
court
reporter.
reporter.
And we're getting charged for that
Oh, shit.
type in, so that'll be
Yeah.
one cut. I call them, but did you still want that meeting though, since you're over IT, Jim?
Yeah, we need to do something with that.
They're also managing, at least I noticed that Arthur O. Fisher page.
Mhm.
You want to continue doing that?
I don't know, you do have an annual fee that's being charged for having that in your website that you did when they dedicated Arthur Fisher Park, you know, and his family, you put his history on there and people can look at his history. Maybe there's a way to prevent having to have that extra page and just put it inside the website somehow, so that's a good thing I'll check on.
And then also, I don't send the minutes and stuff, the resolutions rather, for them to upload them but once a month, because if he does it once, we don't get, you know, if he does it every meeting, we get charged every meeting. If he does it once, we just get that same charge once. So I cut that down a little bit, even though you guys said in the resolution, do it after, it has to be in there 3 days after the meeting. But I saw that there was a fee every time, so I tried to cut down on just putting it once a month, just to do it
So it's
once
a
a
flat
month.
fee, it's not a,
It's not like, it's how much time, if it takes him 15 minutes, it would take him 15 minutes 3 times a month versus 15 minutes 1 time a month.
Okay.
Uploading the file doesn't take that long.
And then when you had your special meetings, well, like this
Yeah,
one,
right.
well, we got a meeting almost every day.
Right.
It's charge, the way she used to do it.
okay.
Now it's just one-time upload, no matter how much data you send.
And I also have to upload those, I have to upload those myself, not the resolutions, but the minutes, recordings. I have to upload those myself, so they don't charge us for that.
Well, again, that's a split cost amongst all 3 departments, so I left it at 5, but Jim, if you would have that meeting with them and see if we can get that price down some,
Good.
if we can. Emory Communication, I suggested, to put 2,000 aside in case we had a phone that broke, something like that. But outside that, you don't need 10,000 in that account. Pro On Call, we talked about them already, or no, that was a different thing. Pro On Call's no longer here, so that $4,000 expense goes bye-bye. The meeting minutes, we talked about that. It needs to be split per department. So I raised that because I know that's a roving number. Mike, you had a number with your program that you were thinking about. Roy, the lady that did it last time, what her expense was. So, I kind of took a guess that you might spend $21,000 in a year's time, but I don't know. So that one you can put an asterisk next to because that may be subject to change based on who you get to do your minutes.
Can the police or the lighting district be part of that?
Let's ask the auditors.
Okay.
I'm afraid I don't know.
What, you put in 26 grand for that?
20.
Well, it'd be 3 departments times 7, so it'd be 21,000 total, 7,000 on the general.
That seems steep.
Well, how much did you pay for that last quarter? Wasn't that September, October, November, December? Wasn't that something like
I have to,
$9,000 or $10,000?
I don't remember what the
Okay,
name
we can look at that expense a couple of different ways.
Mr. Mayor, you remember the name?
It was costing
I'm not
about,
sure in total. have to check to see.
Okay. When Adrian was doing it, it was taking her about 3.5 days a week of her salary. So you could figure that expense that way.
What's that number?
Invoices, I'm guessing it was $300 or $400. I don't know, Steve, you trying to,
I'm trying to do a calculation right now. A week. Yeah, you're looking at, what that number you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, about 350.
and then I think the invoices for the outsourced typing was $450 to $5, depending, $450 to $6, probably depending on the length of the meeting. That sounds all right.
That's what I'm trying, I think it was a little bit more. I'm trying to find, I can't remember the name of the court company. I just remember it was something court. I can't think of the name of the company right now. But I remember several bills were like 1,000 and they gave us a discount if we paid it early. I do remember that. I just don't remember what the total.
21,000 may be overkill, but I just don't want to underfund.
Right, right.
And this being, okay, that's total.
We definitely could put an asterisk there next to that and realize that before the permanent budget, you know, you may make some changes to that. The next one, last year, we scrapped, for 220, we scrapped the idea of trying to do record creation for the cemetery. I put in there a figure to try this year, but do you want to try this year or do you want to scrap it for another year? Somebody brought, during COVID, they cleaned out their house and they found a blueprint of the cemetery that brought it into me. We now have a laminated piece of it as well. So you guys can come over and see it, but it's the map of the actual cemetery and it's the book. It's blurry and.
Different than the one we had? Different than the one we had hanging up in here?
It's different than the one you had in here.
Okay.
But it's the same picture, but I think they made that picture that you had in here off of this old blue book. So we at least got something to start with now. But, you know, again, I didn't know if you guys wanted to do that project this year or not. So I kind of, you know, I threw an amount of 5,000 in there, but, you know, I just don't want to be spending money if you guys don't really want to dedicate to do it.
I think it's something that's gonna have to be done.
Eventually, yeah.
It's so hard to go out there and probe and hope that the family's watching your probe, hoping that they know that somebody ain't buried, buried. And we're getting a lot of long-term people that bought their lots and then their family didn't keep the right records. There's nothing that the county filed on the deed. So you've got to take their word for it that this is their family plot and do their very best to make them come in with a legal letter from the attorney saying they have the right to buy or bury because we don't have any records.
I think we could budget that number, but not act on it till we get to the halfway, 2/3 point. Treat it like a capital expense. Let's see what our budget looks like before we sign up to do it.
You guys okay with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because that way that gives us some money to play with, depending on what the revenue picture starts forming up to be.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I'm thinking too, we may benefit from this COVID because those vendors are going to be starving. They're gonna be out there trying to find business right away, so we might be able to get to what we would have paid now, cheaper a year from now. So, all right, I was gonna talk to a vendor again at the OTA conference, but that's over with. Operating supplies happens to just be a sort of a catch-all. Every department has that category. It's really not specified for a certain reason, but it's for office operating supplies. When you look at, we have a couple line items where we were taking money from. I want to make sure this year that when I code those bills, that we're taking anything that would be operated office supplies that's not already listed comes out of that account. And so I proposed 5,000 there.
You want it out of which line number again?
420-0000.
Oh,
Yeah.
you said operating, I thought you said office, okay, I got you.
Bathroom supplies, we didn't have any money for toilet paper in there.
Well, because that was over here.
Right. So now we have to put a budget line item in for it. I've been just donating and bringing it in for us in the office just because we needed it. I don't know, Tracy, nobody's asked me if, I've got some in my office if you need
I
it.
don't know how to, can we change it, the one that's in there? We gotta just leave them sit in there, right?
Well, we can take them apart and see who the vendor is and try to buy what's in there.
I hate that toilet paper, it's one ply.
It's one ply.
It tears, every time you tear it out, it tears.
We'd be better off going to Sam's or somewhere like that and just buying a bulk of it, so. Uniforms, we really don't have anybody have uniforms, but it was 2,000 last year.
And you used some of it, didn't you?
No, 2,250.
I thought we used
Didn't you
some.
buy a bunch of JT shirts for pictures and stuff like that?
Yeah, but we took it out of like split accounts. We took it out of something like, operating supply, or, one of these other categories. If you guys want to, I put the word cut next to it, even though I wrote 2,000 out there, taking it from 2,250 to 2,000. If you guys want that cut, we can cut it or leave it there for, another set of shirts for everybody if we get.
Leave it.
Leave it? Okay.
2,000, yeah.
Dues and fees, I took that down to 1,500. Because you guys have, our membership in the OTA you have to pay, that kind of thing. Special events, do you guys know, has the neighborhood association talking about bringing the festival back next summer?
They're not gonna do it in the park. We talked about not doing it in the park anymore because there was too many outside people coming in. We wanted just for the township. So they were thinking about doing it over there on Kimmel Lane in that area. But
You mean to
not
like shut
this
down
year.
the road and having a block party on the road or
Something
something?
like that. But no, actually probably asking you guys like they do with the Halloween thing, maybe using the property that's over there.
Recommend to them that,
Lot next door is empty.
but you also have Blairwood Park.
That's true.
That's got a concession stand, where, people can get to that. But again, they decide what they want to do.
Right. No, we haven't had any meetings this year because we meet at the police station.
Well, I'm sure they're suffering a little bit with money, not having, a little money to fundraise for themselves. So I put 2,000 there instead of 1,500.
I'm gonna say you're not gonna have to worry about it.
Okay.
You ain't gonna do nothing.
Yeah, I agree with you, right?
Well, you guys also can use that money to help, like if the fire department decides to have a special event right here at the campus, you're able to help them, if they need it, to do something. Or you can cut it. I mean, it doesn't,
I said leave it in there if you need it, but I don't foresee it happening. Because, the way things are messed up now, they're trying to tell that the president didn't, Biden did not win his election. And they got Giuliani, trying to plead his case.
did you guys see what came out by Montgomery County Health today?
Yeah, I saw that.
If you didn't, it's in your mailbox.
It's a recommendation.
Recommendation, but you're supposed to stay home.
After Thursday, right?
No, it's not the governor.
Well, the governor.
The governor's 10 o'clock. They're
Well,
supposed to
but the
stay open
governor
between 10
leaves
and
it up to
5.
each jurisdiction.
Right, so
He's
Montgomery
come out
County,
He's come out with one.
Montgomery County says stay home.
Because the hospitals are getting to the point.
So
But,
does that mean we can't have our meeting, the next meeting?
If depending on what they say. And see, you know, people don't understand. Here you got all these doctors, nurses losing their lives. And they can't, if you have a heart attack, you're gonna die from a heart attack because you're not gonna be able to get to the hospital. So we'll see.
So we leave that one
so
in.
you think, we're gonna, in our official capacities, be exempt from the curfew because of what we need to do within the township?
What explained to me on a conference call today with the county administrator, Michael, he said that you're essential. You all are, because you're overseeing an essential department, which is fire. You are. But you are not to expose the public to, according to him, you're not to put the public at harm with your actions. So he was highly suggesting everybody going, but he can't mandate it. Everybody go to Zoom and keep your people from coming out and being in the facilities. But that was just the county pushing their pulse on it. Makes sense, it does, but you know, a lot of communities aren't ready to do that financially. A lot are already doing it, and they're like, well, we were already doing it. Well, that's fine, but you know, but that's just an answer I can give you. So the employee morale, that's strictly maybe at Christmas time we try to, you know, do something for the staff, but we don't spend $1,000, of course. But one year or a couple years we did the Christmas party for the children, and we got all those gifts and all that stuff.
And I still have them in my office.
You still have some. Santa Claus came, so I just kept that figure in there for if you don't use it, it'll roll it over to next year. Now the next one, I put the word remove and I didn't mean to.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a number out at the side. Now,
Okay.
Tracy, tell us again, and maybe the trustees already know, but I need clarity. We get a property tax once a year, and those are those green things that come in an envelope, right? It's about this thick.
You mean the stack of bills?
The stack of bills.
That's all of our properties, and with all the bills, I have a spreadsheet I put with the addresses, everything for which property. And most of them are only $1. But there are some that have fees. For instance, this building has a fee. The fire the buildings have some fees too.
We have to find out what those are, why they're not $1, you know?
Oh, they're on there's, you know, just like a regular property bill, they have what they are on there. But we end up getting it back anyway. I mean, we pay to get it back. I mean, we have to
And
pay,
the county takes
they get their fee, they still
Isn't
get
that
a fee.
silly?
Yeah.
That's why we pay the $1, because they get that $1 fee.
Okay,
But so we don't pay, on any other property, we don't pay any more money. We just pay them their fee. But
except for one.
yeah, I don't know, now that one, that's that one,
Soldiers Home West
Right.
Carrollton is, okay, Mike, you may not know this. The township owns a house on south of Roush's facility in the curbs. Somehow, they allowed somebody to go into it with the understanding he was gonna buy it on that landlocked program that we used to have. And he was to do improvements to the property. That was 7 years ago.
That's a hunk of property tax, I looked at that.
Yeah, and he's not paying anything to the township to stay. When I talked to the insurance company, it was last spring, and it's one of those things that I haven't had time to work on. He said that, do they have a dog on the property? Well, you took me there the first week I was working here, and that dog took after me and that big log chain. Roy's sitting in the car laughing. But anyways, this guy's lived there free for 7 years. We have the full liability of a house with a dog on it, and we're getting nothing for it other than that property tax bill every year just keeps going up because they never transferred the deed
Yeah,
to the
that's what
man's
happened.
name.
he never did, he was supposed to transfer, nobody followed up to make sure he transferred the deed. And then it
So
was
why
wrong.
I'd
can't
say
we
go
force
for it.
them into a lease or evict them?
Well, Mr. Mann and I started with the land bank trying to figure out how to do that because land bank was involved in that whole process to begin with.
Okay.
And wasn't there a problem that it's 2 parcels
There's 2 partials.
and we cannot evict him from the parcels? Some reason, because we tried. That was what, 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, we were trying to get him out of there. But if you guys wanted me to go to council, legal counsel, and figure out how we can get him out of there, we will.
Could that be something similar to squatter drive?
Well, that's part of the reason he's been there that long. He's got rights now that we can't defend or we can't get through. But the problem is you've got exposure there.
Yeah.
You know, worst case scenario, we sell the house or rent it and get some revenue off that house, start paying the property tax.
Force him to get it into his name. That's
He
probably
refuses, he refuses because there's no paperwork that he signed to get in there.
then he doesn't
You don't
have
own
a
it,
legal
yeah.
right of ownership.
Yeah.
Well, squatter's rights is what's been explained to us,
Little
right?
Nathaniel,
Okay, guys,
little legal.
I just wanted you to know that house is sitting down
Yeah, I
there.
remember seeing that tax bill last year. It's steep.
So what, we sign a quick claim to him and then all the taxes are and liability?
He has to agree to that claim
Yeah.
deed, and he's not gonna.
Right.
He told us he doesn't have the money. So, and a land bank can't do anything because of this law about 2 parcels there. It's a deed, I mean, it's double parcel, but it's deed. So, okay, I want to bring it up too. So thanks, Tracy. So, you know, was it 8,000 last year, or can we trim it to 5?
I think it was 9,000 something. We took some from somewhere else. Let me look. Go ahead, because it's gonna take me. This
Well, the
is
next one is
short.
you too. I got your name next to it, but
Oh, which one, land bank?
yeah,
That's the one they send us the bill twice a year.
when the townships agreed with the land bank, when this all started well before all of your time, the agreement says that the local community pays the land tax on the properties that they tore down for you, but they hold. Even though you don't have them in your name, you have to pay the tax. So, you know, it shows here that 1,000 was not encumbered. So I suggested that we took it down to 4. And the reason why, my justification of that is, they tore down homes and got a lot of property already transferred to somebody else. So we'll come back to the one before that. Indigent burial, we don't know when our next outbreak on heroin's gonna be.
Well, they still doing the payback? Is it still going on?
Yeah, so remember I told you I'd submitted all that?
Yeah.
They'd come back to the funeral home wanting certain documents from the funeral home, so I'm working with Baker, Hazel, Snyder, but
Okay.
they've acknowledged that all of them are valid.
Okay.
I forget, I'm sorry I don't have the amount, but we should get 100% of that money back.
Yeah, we're supposed to.
Sadly to say, we may lose it after this year because only 5% of the money's been taken.
Huh?
$2.5 million set aside each year for this program, and only 5% or something less than that have been applied for.
And the state